represented ourselves.
Good morning, Sac City! Welcome. That's right. It's me again. Welcome in to another edition of the Sac City podcast. Who's this guy down? You know what, AJ, I love you and all, but starting the show off, it's not introducing your boy. It's the smoothest voice in sportscasting back on the show again. You thought we fired him. We brought him back in. He looks like he's in a fog or a mist of a room, but it doesn't matter. It's your boy, strong neck, Dylan Kearns himself. Dylan, what's up, buddy?
You know, hearing that chime just got me excited. Like, I was like, wow, it's been a hot minute. Not that I don't, I mean, I'm not going to cap. I don't watch much of the show when I got tired, right? I'm logging, Aaron knows, like, we're logging hours. Granted, you're an extremist. Like, you're logging 80, you're doing your thing, and you watching, and you clipping. I don't know how you're living, bro. That's a lot. But what I'm saying right here, I'm glad that you didn't cut me out of the intro to this because I love being here and I love talking. I love talking football. AJ, I haven't seen you in like years. You're like taking jobs and shit. Like, this is awesome.
Could you imagine if we played the intro and Dylan wasn't in it and his face just got real sad? Like, I mean, come on, buddy, you're not out of the intro. You're this is a band of brothers here. But also alongside it, again, I'm your host, Aaron the Mukes, and alongside your boy, everybody's boy, his boy, her boy, yeah, all the boys, AJ Johnson. Vinny is out again. Vinny is making the cross-country trip or up the coast to Connecticut.
Got a cat problem.
You know, he's got a cat problem, whatever. Like, I know Vinny's going to handle his business. We're going to be okay. But we are here still. Today we are talking, we're talking the Cincinnati
Who they?
And the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Bengals.
2 AFC. Yeah, who they?
So we got a lot. We really do got a lot going on. Dylan, since you are on the show today and we haven't given you any background, you don't know what we're doing. I do need you to put your power rankings into the chat, the private chat, for the Bengals and the Steelers, where you have them ranked 1 to 32. And we'll get those updated once Vinny's back on the show, hopefully tomorrow night, for everybody that's out there. If you're just tuning in, we've been previewing each game from week 1. We are now getting down to the last few games here before we start the season. So it's getting really exciting. And today we have the Bengals and the Steelers. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But first, before we get into all of that, we obviously got to do our special morning headlines.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
That's right. It's time for our morning headlines. Dylan's just mind blown. Morning headlines. Let's talk first. We talked about this last night or yesterday. Cut down day. Alex Leatherwood gone. He gets claimed by one team. One team claimed him. And, the more I thought about this, I'm like, makes sense. They're the one team that really needs offensive line really, really bad. And that was the Chicago Bears. So the Chicago Bears were the one team that claimed Alex Leatherwood off of waivers. So he goes there. The Texans signed Tyler Johnson. I thought that was big. We talked about him being cut by the Buccaneers because of Julio and the weapons they have there. 49ers released Trey Sermon. And again, these are things that have happened since we've gone over the cut downs. Today, a big trade. Eagles trade Jalen Reagor to the Vikings, and we'll get into that in a minute, for a 4th and a 7th round pick. And then another guy we talked about maybe possibly signing, Sony Michel, goes to the Chargers. This speaks to exactly what I was talking about with Isaiah Spiller. They're not too fond of what he's been doing, and he's banged up. You go get Sony Michel, a veteran. I think Sony will slide into that number 2 running back role behind Austin Eckler and probably get some run eventually. AJ, I'll start with you. Out of those headlines from this morning, what stood out to you the most?
Yeah, so for me, it's got to be the Alex Leatherwood situation. And, this is something we talked about. The Raiders they couldn't make it work, and it's time for him to go. He's still a young, talented guy. And if there was a team that, I think could make something out of it, not because they're known for doing it, this is a whole new regime, but the Chicago Bears are young and they need help. So now you get to come back in, you get to try to be that anchor, that star, that highlight piece of that offensive line. And who knows, maybe that's the issue. Maybe having all that pressure is what set him back. But I think in a culture change, in the direction that the Chicago Bears are trying to head, to have him come in and they really start to set the standard with him, if they can get it all settled down and show him, hey, man, we brought you in. You're not going to fail this time. We're not going to take it any easier on you because you're a first-round pick. We're not going to take it any easier on you because we ran out and got you the moment you were clearing waivers. So I think the fact that he's going somewhere with the expectations also for the entirety of the team aren't so high. I think it's a good place for him to reset, try to get his mentality right, and see if he can start being that first-round talent that we know he was capable of being.
Yeah, I think this is kind of what do we have to lose other than they're paying his salary type thing. It's a first-round pick, quote, maybe a first-round talent. We all think he probably shouldn't have been a first-round pick, but he was drafted in the first round. I think this is kind of a risk-free type of move here.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I don't think he's going to be good in Chicago because I don't think he's that good of a lineman. And I think they'll eventually see that. But for right now, I thought, you know what, if one team is going to take a flyer on a guy who maybe had some upside, it's Chicago because they really do need that offensive line help. The only other team I thought maybe would take a chance was Atlanta. But I also thought they might wait and let him try to clear and then just sign him if he was still available. But Chicago's the one who took the chance. But yeah, I know you cover certain things, Mr. Dillon, but I want you to cover Jalen Reagor. And I want you to talk about Jalen Reagor being traded to the Vikings. I don't want to use the word ironic. I know Gus Ramsey hates that, but he was taken one spot before Justin Jefferson in Minnesota, and now you have him joining Justin Jefferson in Minnesota. Does this move the needle as far as Jalen Reagor's career, a new change of scenery? And do you think Minnesota will be able to kind of acclimate him into their offense and maybe he gets some sort of spark into his career?
You know what he is, Aaron? I'm going to use your phrase. He's a jag. He's just another guy. I mean, you honestly look at this team. Obviously, he's probably the fourth wide receiver on that team. You got Thielen, you got Jefferson, you got KJ Osborne who looked good last year. He's probably slides into that four, which is nice because Minnesota hasn't had the most they haven't had the most depth at the wide receiver position. You've been throwing BC Johnson out there and Chad Beebe and these other scrub nuggets that have just tried to play the position.
Nice.
And no, he's not. Come on.
He called them scrub nuggets.
Yeah, scrub nuggets. That's what they are. But, I mean, they've always had one or two. It's been Diggs, Thielen, and after that, right? All a bunch of crap. Now you get a little bit of depth in there. Not saying you can afford an Adam Thielen injury, but if you do, Osborne slides up. You have someone who is experienced, albeit he's trying for another chance here in Mr. Reagor. But I do like the fit there. I think it helps them out. It gives more depth to that wide receiver room, which is needed a little bit more. And he's a veteran now that can go in there and absolutely be an extra wide receiver.
Yeah, I actually did like the move for both teams. I thought Reagor needed a change of scenery. I thought obviously he worn out his time in Philly talking about where he was supposed to be being a first-round pick. That was never going to come to fruition. Obviously, the drafting of a Devonta Smith and then bringing in an A.J. Brown, you still have Goddard there. Like, there's no room there for Jalen Reagor to really flourish. Not that there's room in Minnesota, but you do have an opportunity to be in a new environment, maybe bring a different set of skills to the table. They talked about using him in the return game, which I actually like. I think he's a pretty good returner. I think that could help him. And then you kind of sit behind an aging Adam Thielen. Maybe in a couple of years you can find, learn something from him, and then you can move on with your career, maybe become something steady in the league. But I thought both teams, it was a good move for both teams, especially since BC Johnson did get hurt and he's out for the season. And now you need some more depth in that wide receiver room. And you go and get a guy that's been in the league a few years. But the only other morning headline I really kind of want to get into is the Tyler Johnson one with the Texans. I like Tyler Johnson. I thought Tyler Johnson had a lot of upside in Tampa, but they've had so many weapons there. He's never really been able to flourish. And then you talk about him going to a Houston team who lost the rookie, John Mechie. So they lose Mechie. They don't have a lot of depth. Matter of fact, with Tyler Johnson on the roster, they now have 5 wideouts who are rostered on their active roster. Just 5. And most teams have 5, 6, 7, and then they got somebody in the waitings. It's Nico Collins, Brandon Cooks, Chris Moore, Philip Dorsett, and now Tyler Johnson. Ugh. That is a very experienced wide receiver room, despite the names not being big names. Outside of Nico Collins, Chris Moore, Tyler Johnson, and Philip Dorsett have been in the league a few years. They've been on some teams where they've actually won, right? In Tampa, Chris Moore was in Baltimore. And you talked about, I mean, we've talked about Dorsett before. Dorsett's been on a number of teams that have had one season or had good winning seasons. And I think that matters in a room like that to help guys like Nico Collins and young quarterbacks like Davis Mills. I like what Houston's doing. Yeah. But that depth chart on offense looks mighty thin. Mm-hmm. Like you look at it and it's like two guys. And so if they have some
yeah, it happens every now and then.
They have some
injuries. They're going to be in this thin, but I did like the addition of Tyler Johnson. How did you guys feel about Tyler Johnson?
Yeah, I was a fan of it. I thought this was a good move because really we were looking at a Nico Collins to really take another step forward. And sure, he had some moments in the preseason. You can think about the big body catch that he made in the end zone, some things they're going to need. But they didn't have that guy that could be a quick hitter, like I'm just out and ready to catch the ball and get a couple different runs. And that's basically what Tyler Johnson did for Tom Brady. Every now and then he would step up and take the deep shot. But this gives another weapon to utilize to Davis Mills and a different skill set to utilize. And honestly, I think he has the opportunity to slot right in there at that number 3 wide receiver spot from Jump Street. And if that's going to end up being the case, I'm not saying he's going to flourish right away, but this helps him. This helps Davis Mills. If Dameon Pierce can be the guy that you definitely think he's going to be, and a lot of us as well, we're looking at an offense that can be closer to upsetting more teams than they did a season ago. So I really do like the move from the Texans' point of going to pick up a Tyler Johnson. I think that's a smart veteran move right there.
Dylan, I will get into this last headline since we have a few minutes. Trey Sermon, talk about him. How did that kind of play out with the 49ers? What did you feel about that? Was that the right move for them?
That's a wasted draft pick. Ooh, I get a big screen here. That's a wasted draft pick right there. And obviously that's the case, but they traded up into the 3rd round, right? They saw something in him and they were like, hey, we want him so bad, let's trade up to get him. And they thought that he would be a good fit. He gets there. They don't like him in the preseason last year. He ends up not playing much. Elijah Mitchell steals the show. He starts coming in. Trey Sermon only started 2 games last year, had 167 total rushing yards on the year, 1 touchdown, and he's gone after 1 year. So that not really too productive, and they didn't really give him many chances to thrive. He was banged up a little bit, but other than that, this guy was a healthy scratch. He's a press box sitter in a suit, and right now he's jobless. So here's a guy who was potentially going to be not a star, but a starting running back in this league, drafted in the 3rd round to where he could see some time. Now he could be out of the league.
Yeah, I'm okay with you saying a star. 3rd round running backs in today's NFL are supposed to be efficient starting caliber to good to great running backs. Like we always look at for first string guys or first round guys to be those guys. But in today's NFL, those guys go later and later, right? Yeah. And those guys in the 3rd and 4th round are usually the running backs. Dameon Pierce's, we've had, running backs in the past. Alvin Kamara, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round are usually the guys we end up seeing being the best running backs in football. Obviously, you have your outliers, the Zekes, the Saquons, whatever in the 1st round, the Najees.
McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, without Najee Harris, literally the entire league.
Literally the entire league.
The entire league.
I can name more running backs that were late round picks in the NFL than were top picks in the draft in the NFL right now.
That are starting running backs.
You go down the list. Go down the list. We can do it right now. We got time. You can start in the NFC West. Elijah Mitchell, Cam Akers, James Conner.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
No, start in the NFC West. I just said it. Rams, Cam Akers, Elijah Mitchell, Rashad Penny.
Yep.
And James Conner.
Rashad Penny was the first.
Okay, so you have one. Green Bay, you have Aaron Jones.
Nope.
No. You have Detroit, DeAndre Swift.
Yep.
Was he a 2nd rounder?
I think he was second rounder.
Second rounder.
Second rounder.
Dalvin Cook.
Yep.
David Montgomery.
Dalvin Cook went 34th overall in the 2nd round.
Leonard Fournette. Yep.
I mean, you're 1 for 1 in like 2 division. Or you really want to go through?
Notice how we started with the NFC.
No, it doesn't matter because you can still go through it. You can talk.
Jacobs,
Go to the South. Nope. Go to the South. Go to the South now. New Orleans. Nope. Atlanta. Nope. Carolina. Christian McCaffrey.
Yep. Tampa. Yep.
Tampa. Leonard Fournette. So that's 3 running backs so far out of 12 teams.
4.
3 out of 12 teams. You have Zeke and Saquon. That's 5.
Now he starts to get into the good ones. He's saving.
Okay, but then you have Antonio Gibson and Miles Sanders. Nope and nope. Right? Then you go to the AFC West. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yep. Josh Jacobs. Yep.
Josh Jacobs. Then you have Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler and Javonte Williams, both out of the first round. Cincinnati, Joe Mixon. Baltimore, J.K. Dobbins.
No.
Cleveland has who? Nick Chubb.
Yep.
And then you have Pittsburgh's Najee Harris.
Yep.
And we can continue to go, but you're not going to like it.
No.
You're losing.
AFC South is the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep.
Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor.
Nope.
Travis Etienne, first rounder. Derrick Henry.
Nope.
And who else? And we obviously know Dameon Pierce. No. And then in the East, there's nobody. Because you got the Bills, Devin Singletary. Miami is Chase Edmonds. The Jets is Michael Carter and Breece Hall, both second-round picks and third-round picks. And then the Patriots have nobody. We already know.
And by the way, Nick Chubb was not a first-round pick.
I knew he wasn't. Yeah. So out of 32 teams, we are talking 6 to 7 guys.
Less than 10. 10.
Most running backs come later in drafts. That's just the way it works. I know we wasted 3 minutes on that, and that was stupid. But I had to prove Dylan wrong on his first episode back because no matter what you do, I always kick your ass. And with that being said, let's get into our injury report. And with our injury report, AJ, tell us what we got going on today. I know it's not a huge injury report. What's our light news for today?
That's good, man. It's not only is it not a huge injury report, it's also on the better side of things. We're not talking about people going out for a change. We're talking about people coming back, and they're good names that are big, names we love, names that will be necessary, like Darren Waller, who practiced on Tuesday for the first time after battling a hamstring injury. So he's making his way back. We're hoping and looking for him to be ready to go week 1, at the latest week 2. Hopefully by then he'll be 100%. And then Shaquille, Mr. Darius, once upon a time, Leonard, Mr. Lover of the Shaq Strip, he also practiced Tuesday and is off the PUP list and on the way back. And we know what he means to Indianapolis Colts defense. They are just a completely different animal when he's on the field. So we got 2 big-name guys coming back from the injury report as we ramp up to week 1, and some guys who are really some go-getters, some dogs of the NFL. So great injury news. I love it. We're going the opposite direction. Yeah,
it's always nice. We got a week from today now before the season starts. And hopefully we're getting better news as we get closer to week 1 and people aren't getting hurt in practice. So I expect the injury report to be light for the next couple of days. Just a lot of positive news. Again, we're crossing our fingers for that. Dylan, I got a job for you, though. I do. I got a job for you. I need you to go ahead. It's been a while. You haven't got to do it in a while.
Is Manscaped a part of this?
Nope. I need you to read them socials, buddy.
At Sack City Pod, SACKSITYPOD, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Kenny Babyhand Pickett, showing you at the left, showing you at the right. Sack City Pod. Spell it out for Mr. What's it called? Closed captioning purposes. Otherwise, you'll get yelled at. Sack City Pod.
Follow us on our socials, all of our social platforms. Again, we're dropping content constantly. It's always fun to have Dylan read those. That was an awkward read, but it was a read nonetheless. And we will be back right after this commercial break, and we will get into our season preview with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. Excuse you?
This season preview is brought to you by Manscaped's brand new Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. This luxurious lather cleanses and nourishes in just one step. Using coconut water, green tea, and aloe, this non-greasy daily formula is naturally hydrating and rich in antioxidants to revitalize the look and feel of your hair. So head on over to manscaped.com and use the promo code SACCITY for 20% off and free worldwide shipping. The new Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner from Manscaped. Take care of hair everywhere.
That's right. Save 20%. Head over to manscaped.com and get your products now. Use that promo code SACCITY and help a brother out. Or should I say, help some brothers out.
Yeah.
Help your beans out. Get the lawnmower.
It is time. The season preview.
Hey, Bengals, since they won the division, we are going to do their season preview breakdown. We have their offense, their defense. We're going to give you the schedule breakdown and then record predictions and preseason rankings. We are not doing odds today. I might just make up some odds on my own just because our wonderful producer Vincent is out. AJ, I'm going to start with Dylan actually on this one. I'm switching it. I know you probably weren't prepared for it, but I don't care. You will figure it out. I'm going to ask Dylan, what is the next level for this Bengals offense
so much
that you would like to see them hit? They get to the Super Bowl last year. What's that next level to put them kind of over the top?
I don't think they need to do anything different on offense. I think they need to replicate what they did last year, which was tough to do. That offense put up legit points down the stretch. I mean, they were clicking on all cylinders. You had T. Higgins doing this. You had Jamar Chase doing that. I mean, they were all over the place. They had a great run game. But one thing that really stood out to me about this team last year was their ability to stay healthy on the offensive side of the ball. And, C.J. Uzomah battled a little bit of an injury late into the season. But other than that, I tell you, that entire team, T. Higgins coming into this year, solid. Tyler Boyd stayed healthy for the most part. And Jamar Chase had himself a great year, and Joe Mixon stayed healthy. Joe Burrow bounced back. Joe Burr. He's all over the place, right? That entire squad. That offense was fantastic last year. If anything, they got to try to replicate what they did last year because this year, I don't see much changes. All I see is let's hope we can keep that same offensive firepower and hope our defense is just a tad bit better so we can win a Super Bowl.
Now, AJ, is that what you were kind of thinking, or did you have something more specific in mind as far as what you want to see from that Bengals offense?
So the funny part is that's where I started, thinking that if they could replicate it, they'd be in a good spot because let's be honest, what they did last year, we didn't expect for it to come, but it was also against a weaker schedule. Now they're up against a tougher schedule. If they can be able to level that out and be that offensive firepower we saw with all that talented guys, with the Jamar Chase putting up 1,400 yards and 13 touchdowns, with T. Higgins, if he can stay healthy. Imagine what happens when he's there for 3 more games. We watched Joe Mixon hit his career high in rushing at 1,200 yards last season, only at 4.1 yards per carry. Now they go out and they add Ted Karras, they add Kappa, they add La'el Collins. Now you can look at a guy like Joe Mixon and expect his run game to take another step forward. You can expect Joe Burrow to have a little bit more time to throw. If Joe Burrow can keep connecting on the deep ball like he did last season, if I'm not mistaken, it was something like 43%, I think it was. If he can do that again, and we've seen one of the biggest jumps from the first year playing NFL football in the deep ball to the second year that we've seen since like 2013 coming from Joe Burrow. So if he can still have that deep threat and now have the time to do it, this offense will be comparatively similar. And what I mean by that is against the 8th hardest schedule, they can put up the comparative numbers to what they did against weaker teams last season. They're on the way to another decent playoff run. And, well, Kansas City will probably be ready for them this time.
I like where you guys are going with that, but I'm completely baffled. Number one, why you guys didn't mention this guy right here, Eli Apple. And I know we haven't got to the defense yet, but I put that up there, precursor. I just want to always mention Eli Apple. But the main thing here is you brought up Joe Burrow. And I think you guys made good points, but I think we left out the main point, which is it is Joe Burrow. But it's not Joe Burrow and whether he can improve on his numbers or get better or be better quarterback. It's can that offensive line protect Joe Burrow? I think we all kind of admit the weakness on this offense was the offensive line. And then they went out and addressed it. They went out and go and get a La'el Collins, right? And getting first of all, those bookend tackles is huge for your franchise quarterback. So when you can bring in a La'el Collins, you can go get a Ted Karras and an Alex Kappa. Now you have Jonah Williams on one side. Now you have a core offensive line that can come out there and protect your franchise quarterback. So you're not in situations where you're worried about Joe Burrow's health. You're worried about the 9 sacks he takes in the Tennessee Titans playoff game. You're worried about the Raiders, getting to the quarterback or whatever it is. The Rams in the Super Bowl getting to the quarterback in the most critical times. To me, that's how this offense elevates. The only thing this offense needed to do was cut down on Joe Burrow's turnovers, which I think will happen when he's protected, and create more running lanes for Joe Mixon, who already had really big running lane. And I think they do that with the offensive line, and I think they've addressed that need. As big of a Bengal hater as I am, the offensive side of the football is not where I'm worried most about them. It's on the defensive side of the football. So, AJ, in that sense, on the defensive side of the football, what part of this defense needs to step up the most? What part are we still questioning? How do you feel about this Bengals defense and where they're at right now as currently constructed?
Your key word in that sentence was still. We are still questioning their pass defense. That is where they need to step up. That was their weakness last season. And honestly, it's amazing because they'll spend an entire game letting things go and missing assignments. But then they were real opportunistic. And right when they needed it most, they would get an interception or a turnover, a pass deflection or whatever. But you need that consistently throughout the game. We're talking about a pass defense that allowed nearly 250 yards a game last season. That's not great. That's not fantastic. It's not something you want to keep doing. You want to be in that top tier of pass defenses in the NFL. Now, they addressed it, bringing in a Cam Taylor, bringing in a Dax Hill. Happily, Dylan's boy, Jesse Bates, got back there and signed on the tag and is ready to play. So, they should be taking a step forward, but I think it needs to be a huge step forward. I think you need to see this week in and week out.
But AJ, Eli Apple was the number 1 rated PFF corner, according to the Bengals fans. So why don't we just go based on Pro Football Focus? Why doesn't that matter?
And then a PFF analyst got fired because that should never have happened. Eli Apple is a momentary cornerback. What I mean by that is he's in the NFL for a reason. He understands how to play the game. He was once known as a very good cornerback coming into the NFL, and it took him from the Giants to the Saints to having a good squad and a good culture in Cincinnati to even be mentioned on this level. And more times than not, it's about what he's done wrong. So, no, I'm not saying he's horrible. I'm not saying he's bad. He has his moments. He plays his spots. But again, the word I used throughout the whole first soliloquy was consistency. And that's not just everything. It's not just a unit. It is also an individual. Please, Skronek, what would you like to say?
Go ahead.
I found out during my time here in Ohio why Bengals fans love Eli Apple so much. You know why? He was a big factor for that Ohio State football team. He was all over the place for Ohio State.
Just figured that out?
No, it's not. I didn't just figure that out, but I asked literally across people that I've met here in various locations, not saying where. I asked them about Joe Burrow. A lot of them played him in high school. A lot of people call him a dick. I'll be honest here. Not a lot of people from the area think Joe Burrow's real nice. 5 straight people. Oh, Joe Burrow? Yeah.
Eli Apple.
Joe Burrow, 72-0 on us. Great quarterback, but an asshole. Like, everything about him's bad, right? Eli Apple, they're like, oh, everybody loves Eli Apple. He was big at Ohio State, won a lot of games for him, whatever. And then he goes to the Bengals, an Ohio team. Everybody loves Eli Apple because of that reason.
Well, we also got to remember that those dick comments, asshole comments, some Ohio State fans are bitter at Joe Burrow because he left Ohio State. Remember that. It's not just deep rooted in he's an asshole, but he left Ohio State to go to LSU and was the quarterback for one of the best teams in college football history and win a national title.
That's fair. However, I will say one more point here. He said Urban Meyer was on the sidelines before this, right? But the buddy I met said that he went to shake Burrow's hand after the game, and Burrow goes, "Nah, I got to talk to Urban," and walks off.
Okay, that's not.
Again, handshake.
You shake everybody's hand that ever reached out to you.
Look, I'm not going to judge Joe
lines, whatever, and you go up and fake it. And go, nah, I got to go talk to Urban.
I'm not gonna judge Joe Burrow based on somebody else's experience with Joe Burrow. That's not what I care about. But to the point of whether Bengal fans like Eli Apple or not, that has nothing to do with whether the man can play football or not. Like again, to AJ's point, when I say Eli Apple, okay, I'm gonna be honest, Eli Apple's trash. I'll say it. He is not a good corner. And you said he had good years in New York, and I watched him play the Dallas Cowboys. And he get burned every game.
Those are not my words.
You said he played well in New Orleans.
I said
New York.
No. I said it took him. I said he was good coming into the league, and that's what people wanted. But he had to go through New York. He had to go through New Orleans. And yes.
Okay, then let me clarify, because he was not good in New York and he was not good in New Orleans, and he went to the Raiders and they didn't want him either. And yes, did he at times last year have big moments? He absolutely did. That Tyreek Hill game when they came back against the Chiefs, he absolutely stepped up. Kudos to him. He played a really good game for 3.5 quarters in the Super Bowl. And guess what? When it mattered most, he got torched by Cooper Kupp. I'm not trying to just pile on Eli Apple. This is a defensive issue within the entire system of the Cincinnati Bengals. They struggled in the secondary. We love guys like Chidobe Awuzie, who played out of his mind last year. But again, a guy I know really well. I watched him at Colorado. I watched him at the Dallas Cowboys. He is a good corner, but he gets exposed at times. They have a solid defense with solid corners. They've added pieces to it with DJ Reader. I like what they've done. I still need to see it come to fruition on the field. I think the defense, that as good as they played last year, was more about momentum and hot and being streaky. And to replicate that is something that I still need to see throughout the course of a 17-game season. And that's all I'm really worried about with the Bengals is if they play in a tough AFC, and they're going to have to duplicate that success on that side of the ball once again. Now, AJ, what exactly, outside of just the specifics of offense and defense, what specifically are you looking for? Maybe something that we haven't talked about. What are you looking for from this Bengals team that might be able to get them over that hump or create them a situation where they can get to that next level and compete with the Kansas Cities and the Buffaloes that we think are always up there?
It's the big one that everyone's already paying attention to. It's the offensive line play. That was the thing that we looked at to see what this squad was going to be about. It likened it to the Chiefs 2 years ago, losing in premier fashion to the Bucs. 20 pressures. What I think it was like 20 or 40 pressures. Can't remember. It was astronomical for a
29, I think it was.
Yeah, right. Patrick Mahomes running for his life. And what do they do in the offseason? They go out and spend so much money on the offensive line. We've got a commodity back here. We have to protect him. The Bengals go to the Super Bowl. Honestly, wasn't sacked as much as you thought they would be in that Super Bowl after they were for every other game of the playoffs. Lose the Super Bowl. What do? They go out and they bring in a bunch of guys to help this offensive line. Now you are looking at protection for an elite-style quarterback, for a running back that we still know has a lot in the tank, just hit career-high numbers, and a team that's loaded on offense that may allow this offense to step up to the level that Dylan was so shy to say. The next one. So that and the small one that's just for fun, Jamar Chase. He's chasing Justin Jefferson and trying to do the things he's been doing. So I'm looking to see if he can put up back-to-back seasons with over 1250 is what I'll say, even though I know he put up 14 last year. And if he can have double-digit touchdowns again this season. And maybe can he get over 90 receptions? I'm talking like I want a huge year for him. I know that's going to be tough, but I want to see if he's capable of doing that because that will really put him solidly in that top 3 conversation of wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, I think Jamar Chase is going to have to have a big year in order for the Bengals to be successful. We're taking a look at the schedule now, and we've talked about the AFC schedules in general just being in a tough division. They're playing a tough division, how hard they can be. You see that the way they start the season is division opponent.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. He's coming back, guys. It's okay.
Games here. Dylan.
Yeah, you cut out. They start the schedule with division opponents.
Okay, so it's a tough schedule. Dylan, what part of this schedule is going to make or break the Bengals season?
12 through 15. Weeks 12 through 15, right? You can start the season, division opponent. Tough to start, right? Then you got New York, whatever. Like, you got a couple games that are solid in there, right? You get your bye week. Out of the bye, you got Sunday Night Football in an environment in which me and you will be at, Aaron. And then Tennessee is going to be a hell of a ball game. Rematch, they're going to feel revenge there, right? Kansas City rematch, they're going to feel revenge. Cleveland, that's a Deshaun Watson game. Tampa Bay, that's tough. They're a good team. And, I mean, hell, even New England, Buffalo, after the bye is hell week for them.
There you go.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. After that bye week, that ending to that schedule is a pretty rough schedule. But it's funny you brought up the back end of that schedule because I had them struggling up front. I actually had them at the beginning of the season coming out of the gate a little bit slower, maybe a Super Bowl hangover, maybe not being able to duplicate some of those successes. I had them going 3-3 to start the season. I think that stretch when they go at Baltimore, at New Orleans is extremely tough after playing Miami. So I have them losing their first 3 road games at Dallas, at Baltimore, and at New Orleans, and then beating the Steelers, the Jets, and the Dolphins. Obviously coming back and beating the Falcons and the Browns. And then they start to pick up some wins there before that bye week. And I think that down the stretch will ultimately determine how good the team can be as far as how many wins they get. But I think it's going to be important for them to either tread water early in the season, 3-3, 4-3, somewhere around there. You don't want to start 1-3 and then have to claw your way back and then have to go through that gauntlet of a stretch at the end of the season. AJ, anything stand out specifically on their schedule to you?
No, Dylan, he corrected himself. When he said 15, I was like, I don't know how you're just going to look there and ignore Baltimore and Buffalo at the end. I don't know that this is a team that may have the luck, as talented as they are. I don't know if they're going to have the luxury of sitting people out in Week 18 against Baltimore. You know, that might be a pretty big game. So you look, and especially having Buffalo before that, if they're in a spot where they need to win in Week 17 so they can sit people out Week 18, well, you're up against Buffalo, which is probably one of the best teams in the NFL at that point, barring injury and everything we think is going to come to fruition with Josh Allen. So I think after he fixed it and went all the way from the bye week to the end, even throwing Tennessee in there, that I think he's got it right. That's the stretch. And they just need to stay, again, consistent. Last year, there was a lot of up and down. You know, one week we're talking about how great this team is. The next week we're watching them be down by 21 for the Chargers, come back, and then still lose by 20. So consistency is the key. Consistency is the key.
Okay, so we don't have the over-under numbers. I'm going to just give you some over-under numbers, and I want you to tell me over-under. Joe Burrow, 4,700 passing yards, over or under?
We're going to go over.
Dylan?
We're going to go over.
Oof. That's a good number.
That's the point.
46.
What's that?
Under?
46. He goes under.
Okay. Joe Mixon, say total yards, passing and rushing and receiving, let's say 1,500. Over under total yards.
Passing and receiving.
Or receiving and rushing.
He's I did the same thing you did. I'm gonna say under. And I know he's gonna have a great season, but I think Chris Evans and Samaje may take a little bit of his work in the passing game.
Dylan?
They like Chris Evans down there, man.
That's a bad take, but I'll take the over here.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with the Chris Evans and Samaje P. Ryan takes, but
well, maybe that was preseason conversation.
Samaje P. Ryan's a shit burger.
Okay, so Dylan has the over, AJ has the under. Jamar Chase, over or under 1,500 receiving yards?
Jesus, Murphy.
Everybody loves him. I think this one's easy. I think that's under.
Yeah.
Was I going first?
Yes, you're going.
You go first.
I apologize. I looked away. Can you give me the over-under again?
1,500 receiving yards.
For Jamar Chase?
Yep.
Under.
Yeah. Last year he had 1,489 or 1,455, and he had that huge 300-yard game or whatever. And
exactly.
It's been kind of up and down. I think under's the thing there too. All right, give me your record predictions. Dylan, go first. Give me your record prediction for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Cincinnati Bengals. Throw up that schedule one more time, big dog.
Yeah.
All right. I think this squad. Don't kill me.
It's your record prediction, man.
I think they're a 10-7 football team.
10-7. Okay. AJ?
That is impressive. That's exactly where I had them. I have them at a 10-7 as well. And actually I feel pretty good about that. So I think that's where they slide in. They got some hard games.
They went 10-7 last year. I can't believe I'm the one on here that's giving them credit. I think they're a better football team this year. I have them going 11-6 on the year. I just think they've gotten better with the offensive line issues that they had last year and addressing that. And then our power rankings, it looks like Dylan had them at 12. AJ had them at 7. I'm going to split somewhat of the difference. I have the Bengals.
Oh, man, the suspense is killing me. I can't wait to hear where he has them.
We are going to put the Cincinnati Bengals at number 10 on our preseason power rankings. The Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers made the playoffs last year, kind of on a whim. We knew they weren't going to go far, but they made the playoffs. Offensive side of the football, Dylan, I'm going to go with you on the Steelers side. What is the identity of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense in 2022?
Yeah, that's easy, Aaron. Come on now. Ground and pound. Najee's the focus of that offense. It don't matter if Pickett, Mr. Baby Hand Pickett, it don't matter if Mr. Mitch Trubisky is at quarterback. It doesn't matter if Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer, is at quarterback. They're going to use Najee Harris out of the backfield. They're going to give him to him at a draw play like this. They're going to check down like you saw earlier, and Najee Harris is going to have his hands all over the ball. Now, you're going to have a lot of other weapons. You got a George Pickens there. You got a Claypool, who's Mapletron, which you should know he's from Canada. Deontay Johnson, a great receiver out of a wide receiver there as well. They're a solid offense, and I do think that the number one priority to them, ground and pound the football. From that, you'll figure out the rest of your offense.
I know we've had conversations about this before, but I have concerns about Najee's touches, and I don't think he gets as many touches as he had in 2022. He's already now come out and had the Liz Frank sprain. That might be something that lingers. We all know that Liz Frank injuries are not easy to come back from, and we don't know if that can compound into something that could be a Liz Frank tear or whatever. How concerned, maybe scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you with Najee Harris being able to stay healthy, getting the volume that you anticipate for him getting?
Me?
Yes, you.
Yes,
you're
me.
The offense guy.
Yeah, I'm the offense guy. Put my hard hat on. Who's this? Canada? Matt Canada? Yeah. You know, Najee Harris, Liz Franks are tough. We saw it in Corey Grant's career. We saw Travis Etienne deal with it. That's a serious injury. I do think that they are comfortable with who they have behind him on the depth chart. But I think right now I could see a potential spot where they do use him a little bit less. But Mike Tomlin's a guy throughout the course of time. He's got his back. He uses his back. No matter who that back is. It could be LeGarrette Blount. It could be Le'Veon Bell. It could be D'Angelo Williams. Or it could be James Conner. It doesn't matter who it is. He has that one back, and he gives him the football. That's who Najee Harris is. Until he has something catastrophic, which we saw with Bell, next man up, you're going to get the carries. That's how I feel the situation here is in Steelers country. But I do also think right now, with that injury that he's dealing with, it could be a long-term effect should he keep getting those bulk of carries he got last season.
AJ, what we obviously think Mitch Trubisky is going to be the starter. That Mike Tomlin hasn't announced it yet, but Trubisky played really well in that last preseason game. He got a lot of run. There was nothing he did to give the job away, and Pickett played well, but I don't know if there was enough for Pickett to take the job from Mitch Trubisky. At this point, going into week one, if we assume it's Mitch Trubisky, when do we see Kenny Pickett, or what does Kenny Pickett have to do? What did you see from him in preseason that you think he's going to eventually be the starter, and when does that happen this year?
Oof.
If it happens this year.
I feel like Mitch Trubisky, and I've said this a few times, he's going to have to Mitch it. He's going to have to Mitch it for Kenny Pickett to get in. I think they are going to lock in with Mitchell Trubisky being the guy, being the starter. And giving him a good shot. The thing with the Pittsburgh Steelers was while they were finally excited to spend elsewhere because they haven't had so much money tied up in the quarterback position, they still don't want to just go to a whole new regime. So to have this bridge quarterback who's been in the league, who's still young enough to kind of take some things over, is kind of the smartest move for them. So if I'm looking at a Kenny Pickett, we're not talking about injuries or anything. I'm thinking we're getting into the double-digit weeks, before there's a call for Kenny Pickett, unless they just start 1-4 or something, 1-5, and Kenny Pickett comes in for a second half and just goes bananas or something. But I think Mitch Trubisky's been pretty good for Kenny Pickett while he's been there. I think he actually learned something from Josh Allen that season and is able to be putting it to the rookie. And I think once Kenny Pickett gets the job, there's no going back. And I don't think there's no need to rush if he's not fully ready. And even though a lot of people in Pittsburgh will tell you he's more ready than they thought he was coming in. So I would say it takes about double digits to get in there unless Mitch Trubisky just proves he is who I thought he was.
Yeah, it's funny to me how each team we kind of talk about is different when they have situations like this. You're talking about a rookie quarterback that came out in preseason and shined. Like Kenny Pickett did everything he could do in the preseason to earn the job. We saw him be on time. We saw him be accurate. We saw him be able to move in the pocket. The baby hands gripped the football fine. He wasn't turning it over. And so you think about it, you're like, okay, you draft him at pick 20 overall. This is supposed to be your franchise guy. He played like that in the preseason. In your mind, you assume that's my franchise guy. That's the guy who's got next. That's the one that we're going to start with when we come into week one. But then you look on the flip side and you see Mitch Trubisky and you're like, well, Mitch Trubisky has been a number one pick, played well, didn't do anything to lose the job, and we were anticipating Kenny Pickett to have to wait. I think this is the toughest position to be in as an organization, and we see how organizations are handling it differently, right? So I look for Kenny Pickett to eventually get this job, but I don't know if it's this year. I really don't know if it's this year. I would assume that at some point in time, if the Pittsburgh Steelers fall out of playoff contention, they would put Kenny Pickett in. But if Mitch Trubisky takes this team and they're going to the playoffs, I don't know how you take him out. I don't. Yeah. It's gonna be difficult to at least push him in that direction. And I think Mitch Trubisky is good enough and has enough experience to kind of hold this job for a while, maybe double-digit weeks, like you said. And that might just be because they're out of playoff contention at that point. Dylan,
that was a worst case scenario thought on my side with him coming in that way. Sorry to mess up your flow.
I still can't believe Tomlin has never gone under 500 with the Steelers. That's whack.
And he's a great coach.
He is.
Dylan, what do you see as, like, what are you watching for from this Steelers team? You mentioned Najee, but what specifically are you watching for from this Steelers football team?
Are you talking team in general or just offense?
A team in general.
I'm looking at how the linebacker group works. We mentioned in the preseason or the preseason show about Devin Bush in his final year here, right? What his or potentially his final year. We all assume it's going to be that. You bring in Miles Jack for competition. You bring in another linebacker they signed the other day. You have a lot of pieces on this defense, especially the linebacking crew. I think that's one area you do look at. Which Devin Bush are you getting? Are you getting the guy that was a high motor his rookie year? You getting the guy that was a little bit timid after his injury last year? That's what I'm curious to see. If he can play the way he did his rookie season, and if you can get that team back to where they did and you can tackle well at the linebacking position, I think with this division, you're seeing a lot of run from Baltimore, from Cleveland, among others in this division. If you could tackle well at the linebacker position, you're going to be solid. And that's one area I look at with this Pittsburgh Steelers team.
Yeah, you've mentioned Devin Bush a few times on this show about coming back and playing the way he did his rookie year. I don't know if I agree with it. I told you how I felt about the ACLs type stuff, severe knee injuries or severe injuries in general and coming back from that. But I do see your point, and as far as the defense there. But AJ, what is the Steelers' biggest weakness on defense?
Yeah, so it starts to me. I give you 2 points that I have really pinpointed here. Firstly, I think about that run defense from last year. You know, we always talk about how good the Steelers defense can be, but we're talking about a team that was giving up about 146 yards on the ground per game. You watched Rashad Penny and the Seattle Seahawks go for 160 at 6.1 yards a clip, and that's something that had to get better. That was a part of their downfall. So that's one thing that has to get better, and I know Miles Jack helps that, but if Devin Bush isn't who we're hoping he can come back and be, that's going to be an issue. And then the second thing I really look at is the cornerback depth with a P, not like actual depth. But if any of the guys do die, and they don't have a lot of guys that you feel can slot in and really step up and be prepared to go on a whim, you know that, and that puts a lot more on Minkah Fitzpatrick. That doesn't allow him to do some of the things that they like to do. He was a guy that they used to try to help the run game when they could, and if he's having to play back more to make up for the sluggish cornerbacks because they've had injuries or something of that nature, well, then that's not something you're going to have the freedom to do. So their depth worries me a little bit. I think they need to either make sure they're grooming these guys well during the season, or, I mean, maybe there's somebody out there. I haven't looked at who's still left, but maybe there's a couple people out there that they may be able to add to in this cornerback room just to give them a little bit of help.
Yeah, you mentioned the depth. I'll be honest. I think Pittsburgh still has one of the best front sevens in the NFL. I think the Larry Ogunjobi signing was bigger than people even mentioned. Tyson Alualu, and then you got Cam Hayward and TJ Watt on that front four. Like, that's going to be people that can get to the quarterback, that can stop the run. You add in a Miles Jack to be that outside or that inside linebacker with Devin Bush, hopefully coming back from a knee injury. And then you have Alex Highsmith, who's probably the most inexperienced one there, but he still has talent. And then their back end is not bad, but they lack the depth. You got one of the best safeties in football, Mika Fitzpatrick. Terrell Edmonds is really, really nice. Mm-hmm. But those outside corners I worry about. With Joe Hayden, I worry about them because they got the slot corner, and Cam Sutton played really, really well. I think Cam Sutton is good. The rush defense has to be a concern. You gave up the most rush yards last year, averaging almost 5 yards a carry, almost 2,500 yards on the ground given up last year, worse than the NFL. So I think the pieces are there, but the depth is not. They cannot afford injuries. When one guy goes out, it's going to change that entire defense. That is going to be key for them to make sure guys can stay healthy. And then, again, just that back end, solidifying those two outside corner spots in a division where you got to cover T. Higgins, you got to cover Jamar Chase, you got to cover Rashad Bateman, and then obviously you got to cover Amari Cooper in Cleveland, and who knows what happens when Deshaun Watson's there. But so they probably get a break outside of Cincinnati with elite receivers. Most teams have them. Not a lot of teams in the North do, at least from coming at you from all angles. But those outside corner plays is probably my biggest concern for the Steelers squad. But when you got a TJ Watt and you can get to the quarterback the way they do, you have a good chance to at least offset some of those problems. So let's take a look at their schedule here. And again, this is a schedule very much similar to the Bengals, the teams that they're playing, divisions that they have to play, and then some outside games. This one to me is a little bit. It's interesting because I don't look at games and say, okay, the Steelers are going to win this game or the Steelers are going to lose this game. I don't know what the Steelers are right now with that quarterback, with this team. I'm not sure what they are. If you had to look at one thing on the schedule, AJ, what stands out to you the most? What area of the schedule you like? This is what I'm looking for, and this is when I'll be able to tell the Steelers what type of team they are.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for Mr. Mitch Trubisky because starting in week 5 all the way down to week 8 before the bye, going to that bye is tough. You're talking about two top teams in the AFC and the NFC, a Miami team that's now loaded. You talk about being worried about those corners. Now you have to go to Miami that's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle out there. That's going to hurt. And then even if you get something going coming back to Philly on their defensive side of the ball, and you have quarterback issues, if Mitch Trubisky hasn't been playing up to par by then, and now you have to go see Philly before that bye, look at that spot at week 10 I was talking about. Right after their bye might be the situation if they haven't played well that you start thinking about it. You start hearing that clamoring. So, they come in, they start off hot with Cincinnati. You got 3 winnable games with New England, Cleveland, and New York. But after that, that next stretch right before the bye is really tough, and it's going to tell you a lot about Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, depending on how they decide to go with that right before the bye, and then they come back and play the Saints.
Okay, so let's do it. This is where it's going to head anyways. This is where it's going to go. At the bye week, let's say lost Bengals. Let's say they beat the Patriots. They beat Cleveland because no Deshaun. They beat the Jets. They're 3-1, and they lose 4 straight. They're now 3-5. They go to the bye week. Are they starting Mitch Trubisky or are they starting Kenny Pickett against the Saints? I need to see your faces.
It seems so perfect, right? And it's because that's always the situation. You start to think about the bye week. Now you have an extra week to get them ready. And maybe it's something where they take a serious look at it and then come back to a decision. Maybe they don't go into the bye week and say, Kenny, you're our guy. You're going to step in week 10, be ready. I understand. I'm trying to work it out.
In the week, who do they start?
Nail your hits. It's 54 on the clock.
If they lose all those straight, I think I go to Kenny Pickett. We drafted him in the first round. You really enjoyed him in the preseason. Do it. Why not?
I'm glad AJ got to that decision because I'm thinking the same thing. If you get waxed in those games, that's when you make the decision. Now, maybe you win that Philly game. You win that Philly game, go into your bye week with a win. Trubisky goes out. But you got to also understand, it's a rivalry game. Pittsburgh and Cincinnati hate the living hell out of each other. That's a Pittsburgh Steeler home game on Sunday Night Football, Week 11. You think that Kenny Pickett's going to be ready for that? Then you go to Indy. Indy's a tough environment or prime time. That's a tough one. I don't know. I don't know if I'd start the kid. I think if you start the kid, it's at Atlanta.
So this is where I was going to get you. This is why I wanted you guys to answer that question, is because coming out of the bye week, you got to go against the Saints. That Saints defense is one of the best in football. Then you go against the defending AFC champion, and then you go at Indianapolis. That's not an easy stretch for Kenny Pickett to come in and play.
It's all two of them are prime time too.
I thought the best situation would be against a weak team like Atlanta, and this is why I think Week 13 would be the spot if they're running bad. Would be at Atlanta on the road against a team that's not going to have any fans in the stands because they suck. And I'm not trying to knock on Atlanta, but let's be honest, I don't think they're going to be very good this year. You come back home against Baltimore, which is tough, but you're at home, and then on the road against Carolina, who's I know that we think they're going to be better with Baker, but they're probably still one of the weaker teams on your schedule.
False.
So I think that's the spot if he gets in at all. If not, I don't see him getting in. And to be honest, the more I look at it, I don't know that I would put him in.
But and I'm with you on all that. But in this scenario where you just watch Mitch Trubisky shit the bed for 4 or 5 straight weeks,
I said
then
lose.
go into a bye.
I said lose, not necessarily shit the bed.
All right, well, Dylan at least said shit the bed because he was talking about him getting waxed. And I'm thinking if Kenny Pickett is even in the conversation, it wasn't Mitch Trubisky was carrying him that close and it just didn't win out. But then you still think about if he's coming back after that bye, are you still confident that he's going to be able to go up against the best defenses in the league?
It's not about
at that point, maybe you want that switch, you want that energy, maybe you want that influx infusion of the new guy, the fiery guy who comes in. You've been waiting to see him anyways.
I think this is the risk you run, and it does depend on how Mitch Trubisky plays, because you can lose those 4 games against really good teams, and Mitch Trubisky can play fine. And then I don't think you're even having the conversation. But say he does play bad. The only risk you really run of bringing in Kenny Pickett is if he looks like total crap. Because then what starts creeping into that locker room? Did you make the right pick? Malik Willis, man, he balled out in preseason. Maybe he should have been the guy. And that doubt, we don't know how Kenny Pickett reacts to that doubt, right? So you never want that to creep in. And I told you, when they have 2 quarterbacks on a team, it's the Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't like it. My thought process is if you bring in a rookie and you draft him high, and that's your net future guy, put his ass in the game starting week 1 and let him figure it out. Because there's no debate. It's not, is it my team? Is it somebody else's team? If Mitch plays good, does he stay on the field? You don't have to worry about none of that. Put him on the field, say, go earn your job. You have all of this year. You have all of next year. And if it don't work out after that, bye-bye. We'll move on to somebody else.
Yeah.
I just worry about that because you never know how somebody will react to that mentally. So, but I do think that range, 11 to 13 to 15, somewhere in that aspect, if the Pittsburgh Steelers are out of it, I think you go and you find Kenny Pickett conversations start to pick up there. I'm not gonna do the prop bets for the Steelers. There's not much prop bets. I did want to talk about one player really quickly. We didn't mention. AJ, talk a little bit about Deontay Johnson and what you expect from him this year. Instead of doing an over-under, what do you expect from Deontay Johnson with the shifting quarterback, knowing that he was supposed to be the number 1 wide receiver?
Yeah, this is gonna sound stupid. I'm worried he gets planted as the number 1, not because of his talent, not because of his usage. I just think some more exciting people are going to step up, and now you just have a safety in a Deontay Johnson who can be a very good 1B. And it may not last a lot. It may last in pockets. He may have those games. This wide receiver group is really good, is the thing. Deontay Johnson has shown what he can do for years in and years out. We are starting to see the talent that George Pickens has when he's healthy, and we're expecting it to keep going up. And Claypool has been immature, right? Claypool has not been what we expected him to be from that first couple stints of exciting and for whatever 3 or 4 game stretch. But they keep talking about his play and how it keeps improving week in and week out. He's still talented. It just has not come to fruition. So looking at these guys, I know Deontay Johnson's coming in there as the number 1. But if George Pickens can step up to what we think he's going to be, I think he starts to get a lot more looks. I think that Claypool is going to try to make himself a solid option in that offense. You look around the league, they're looking for these 3 top wide receivers that can get the ball at any point in time. And I do believe in Pittsburgh, they feel they have 3 of them. And that may spread the ball out a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
That's fair.
I think everybody's
Exactly
jumping
what
on
I
the
was
George Pickens hype train, and I think that's great and all. But I think he's
Mitch-
so far behind Deontay Johnson right now. It's not funny. And Claypool has never touched Deontay Johnson, and they just paid Deontay Johnson. I don't think there's any debate on who the number one is there, but I do think there's a debate on who the number two is.
Mitch Trubisky made Taylor Gabriel look good.
Well, first of all, Deontay Johnson
Yeah,
actually
Gabriel.
fits the skill set that I think benefits those guys the most because he's the one who runs the routes. George Pickens and those guys are big play guys. Chase Claypool's a big play guy. I think that Deontay Johnson fits well in any offense, but
Yeah.
I would be looking for George Pickens to supplant Chase Claypool. I think Chase Claypool's on his way out in Pittsburgh. I think this is his last season, and I think you'll see the writing on the wall this year. He'll play a part because they need three guys, but I do think that you'll see George Pickens on the field a lot more, and Chase Claypool will start to lose snaps to a very big and physical receiver that's just like Claypool, but with a different attitude and work ethic. And I think that's what you'll see that'll be different for the Steelers offense, at least. We didn't do record predictions. I will give you my record prediction first. Let me get my
Handy dandy.
you know what it is. Handy dandy paper. I'll be honest. I don't have them winning many games. Mike Tomlin falls under 500. And I told you this team is tricking me because I don't really know if I believe it in my soul. I have them going 6-11. And I don't
You
like
kept
it.
that, huh?
I did. I'm keeping it, and I don't love it.
Wow. It's okay. Hey,
Something
2
about the
days in a row?
quarterback play bothers me. Not Mitch, just not sure. And it bothers me that I'm picking 6-11, but it bothers me to go over that many games in that division when I think two or three teams are better than them.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I could even if I didn't put Tomlin over 500, I couldn't go as low as 6. Like that just hurts my soul. I have Tomlin doing it again, 15 years in a row, over 500. I have him at 9-8. I think they're going to eke out some games. I do. And if Kenny Pickett even gets in there later in the season, he'll get himself 2.
I don't knock you. Like, it's easy to say 9-8 and be like, yeah, I'm good because I know Tomlin's going to do it, and he probably will. But that streak will end sometime.
Yes,
that streak will.
As they go 8-9.
That streak will end sometime.
They thought it was going to end last year, and I was like, if he made it happen with that team and take them to the playoffs, he's Popovich,
at the end
bro.
of the day, they still had Big Ben, and I know he didn't play well, but that was a veteran quarterback who's won big games and is a good leader. I don't know that they have that anymore, especially on the offensive side of the
football.
ball.
You don't know? Nah, they don't, bruh. They don't.
Okay, bruh. So what is your record, Dylan?
I said 8-9.
8-9. Okay.
Oh, sorry. We didn't hear you talking over people.
Yeah, I know. Ain't nobody
We didn't hear you waiting for your cue.
So power rankings here. I'll be honest. Obviously, I have them lowest. AJ, you had him at 20. Dylan, you had him at 18. I'm pretty sure I have him at 24. And I'm going to lock him in at 24, but only because I know our 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22 are already taken. I'm pretty sure those are taken. So I will lock them in at 24. And if we need to adjust it, we will. But we're going to lock in the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 24 at our preseason power rankings. And that's it, folks. That's it. We're done. That's it. Hour and 3 minutes. Vinny never does it in an hour and 3 minutes. Usually it's an hour and 15. So Vinny, I did it again. It's just what we do when you're not here. We actually get on time.
He's on the PIL.
Yeah, he's on. Yeah, he's probably sleeping in his car or something. But anyways, tomorrow it's Friday. We have another show. Beautiful. Wait, Thursday, Wednesday. Yeah, we have one more show. Hey,
tomorrow's Friday, dumbass.
Yeah. Tomorrow's Friday.
That's not the question.
Whoa, I'm just making sure we recorded one more show. I want to give people the teams that we're breaking down. We are breaking down the 49ers and the Bears, and then we only have 2 shows left after that, guys. We have the Saints and Falcons, and Bills and Rams. For Monday and Tuesday, and then we're going predictions, season predictions, Super Bowl champs, breaking it all down. Fantasy draft next week. We're getting it in. Sack City Podcast is the place to be. AJ, what do you got to say?
Hey, so there was a very special person we all know and love that wants in on our prediction show. Maybe on camera, but definitely at least with his answers. And
who that?
I feel like it's somebody from Full Sail. I had dinner with him earlier, and we were just talking about my new endeavors, and he's later on in the year, one of the final teachers, final professors you see. He's very interested to see about what our predictions are, and would love to have his predictions on the record as well.
I don't even know who you're talking about.
It's Mr. Tuck.
No, it's not Mr. Tuck. It's Mr. Barron. Mr.
Rishi.
Yeah. I was like, let me talk to some people.
Man, hold on, Rishi, man. I'm gonna clip this too and see you. Rishi, you are always allowed on the Sac City podcast. You don't have to hide. You don't have to send messages through the little stork AJ. You can come on the Sac City podcast.
Top notch, homie.
Debate with me anytime you think your record predictions are gonna beat mine, because we all know that ain't gonna happen. Everybody on this show knows who's dominating. We all know it.
Without question.
Anyway, listen, just make sure you head over to all of our wonderful social platforms. Hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We are trying to get on the push for 1,000. Monetize this. Monetize it. Let's do it. Sac City Podcast.
Sound like you're underwater.
All the love. Thank you for the 500 subscribers we have. And thank you to the 500 we're about to add. And then the 15,000 million, whatever, infinity. Because we're in
and beyond.
And all those other guys that want to follow the Sac City Pod, be sure to tell somebody, tell your friends, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and the TikTok, where we got all our special videos. And that's it, man. For old Skroneck, welcome back to the show, Skroneck. Dylan Kearns, smooth voice of sportscasting. He is AJ Johnson. Yeah, boy. I am me. I'm Aaron, the Muxiah. And we will see you tomorrow. Do I gotta say peace out? Peace out.
Shout out Porto.
Holla.
Bye.